Oh my goodness, I am so excited to have you here. This woman today is not only inspiring, but she has grown her business in the past few years from a brick and mortar to an online community. And Sheila is one of those women that really sets a space for you to show up truly as who you are. She's an entrepreneur, mentor, faith-driven leader, and the forefront of the beauty industry. As a visionary founder of the Sheila Bella Permanent Makeup and Pretty Rich Bosses Coaching. She has dedicated her career to empowering beauty entrepreneurs to achieve financial independence and global impact. She has been featured in Forbes, Disrupt Magazine, CEO Weekly, ABC, The Real, Bravo, and E. Her journey reflects a commitment to excellence, innovation, and the transformative power of beauty. Thank you so much for being here today. I mean, we met and we could briefly only talk because there were so many wonderful people to meet at the dinner series. But your husband actually told me two times, you need to meet my wife. You need to meet my wife. So,
He did say that. He told me the same thing too. He was like, "Yeah, there's a girl over there. She does fashion. You got to go see her. You got to go meet her."
and this is actually, we were going to do this previously, but I feel like now is the perfect time for us to connect because you are going through your own transformation
Mhm.
in your business. So I really want to talk about that today. I think that's really important for people to see. I mean, I've been in business for 15 years, and the way that I've had to pivot throughout 15 years of business, I
Mhm.
mean, nobody knows about all the back end stuff that happens. So when we get to share with it openly, it gives other people permission to feel what's in their heart or what they need to do to really step into where they are now in their life.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I'm going through girl, we're all going through something.
Oh yeah, all the time, every day. Like we
All
both
the
came
time.
on here, we're like, we made it today. We made it here right now
I was
today.
like, "Oh my gosh, I did it. I did it. I'm here." Yeah, thank you so
Exactly.
much. And I love what your podcast is about and what you're all about. Yeah, I love that you celebrate individuality because God made us all unique and different and special and weird and quirky. And I love that you celebrate all those things.
Because I know about who you are, but I'm sure not everybody knows about you. So let's go back to the beginning of when you had your brick and mortar. How did you go from a
Mhm.
brick and mortar to your
Okay.
online business? What ended up happening?
Oh, okay. Well, it's just the story. It's the story. Oprah has her same life story, and we just love to hear it, but I don't know if anybody necessarily loves hearing mine. Maybe my podcast listeners do, but I've told this story 1,000 times. So, I had a brick and mortar studio. But even before that, I was a server and I was fired from my waitressing job, and then I hit rock bottom, and then I said, "Hey, I'm going to tattoo people's faces now for a living," which is such a weird dream to have all of a sudden. Like, no one ever grew up thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to be a cosmetic tattoo artist." Like, no one ever thought that. And then so I became a cosmetic tattoo artist, and the only goal at the time was just to help my fiance pay rent. And our rent was $900 a month in a one-bedroom apartment. I know, can you believe it? But that was like 2010 in LA.
Oh my gosh.
2010 in LA, and like not so great of an area. And my only like goal was just to be taken seriously and to just like help out a little bit. And then, it's really interesting like what happens when you put your mind to something and you take risks. I had no idea that I had $1 million business in me at all. And so that's kind of what happened. So, for those of you who might be listening to this thinking, like, oh, I'm just going to do this little side hustle, like, if you put pedal to the metal, like, let's go. You do not know what you're capable of until God just rips off the band-aid, shoves you into the deep end, essentially, and then you're forced to swim. And that's kind of what happened to me. And then so fast forward a few years later, I had two locations, 15 artists. I had, like four front desk girls. I had a manager. I had a valet guy. I had a cleaning lady. I had a CFO. And then I had an attorney. And it's just like, business is just really expensive. And then so you have like really large overhead. And usually large overhead for people is people. So, and then so I had like all this responsibility, and I had a multi-million dollar beauty business, one in North Hollywood, one in Beverly Hills. And then long story short, the pandemic happened and it shut down all salons and studios, anything. I mean, like doing permanent makeup and aesthetics and hair that's like in your face, right? You're like breathing COVID on people essentially. And so they shut down everything. And I'm in California. And I think we were shut down the longest. We were shut down for 6 months. 6 months. Well, first, they shut us down for 4, and then they opened us again and they shut us down again. And so when COVID happened in March of 2020, on top of all that, a year before that, it was 2019. I had decided, so inspired by all of the boss babe gurus in our industry, in our life coaching industry and things like that, right? Like it was Angie Lee's Pays to Be Brave. It
Mm.
was Lori Harder's Bliss Project. And it was all of these amazing like boss babe events. And I said, my industry needs that. So I'm going to create one. So I created the Pretty Ambitious Summit, which was the first that I know of beauty conference that focused on inspiration and business strategies. There was no technique or anything like that. It's the Pretty Ambitious Summit. And it was going to be this like amazing thing. And I worked on that event for a year. And I thought I was only going to have 50 attendees, if that. I would say I'd be lucky if I had 50 attendees. See, this is what happens when you put pedal to the metal. I sold 422 tickets, so around something like that, 420 something. And it was incredible. I mean, I had Lori was a speaker. I had Rachel Luna as a speaker. At one point I had Chris too. I just had all of these amazing speakers lined up, and I was about to like I had this dream to wake up the soul of all of these beauty entrepreneurs that were just like settling. And I sold 420 tickets. I sold tickets from, people from the UK were coming, from Australia, from, Canada. And so I had all these people coming from all over the world, not just the United States. And my event was scheduled for March 13th, 14th, and 15th of 2020. And March 12th, we all know what happened that week, March 12th. Oh, that was such a crazy week for me, even just leading up to it, thinking, am I going to have to cancel this? Am I going to have to cancel this? What is going on? The world is ending. March 12th, Governor Newsom said that all events above 300 had to be rescheduled or canceled. It was March 12th. And we had a U-Haul with all of our supplies, all of our decorations, all of our swag bags and everything packed. My husband loaded a U-Haul until like 1 in the morning. And then he made that announcement, I think like in the middle of the night. And it was like 4 a.m. I got a call from my mom saying, we can't move forward. And I went back to sleep. I decided to cry after I woke up. But I was like, okay, so I just needed to. So I posted in the middle of the night, sorry, due to COVID and due to this governor order, we have to cancel everything. And I posted that, and I did not dare to check my phone for what the comments were, because as far as I knew, there were already people here with their kids from out of the country tagging the event, stories and everything, event Instagram and me and everything, saying, we're here, we're so excited. They're already in, Santa Monica where this event was supposed to be held. Can't wait. And then I had to cancel it. And so, that was really hard. It was the darkest business day of my life. It was so dark and dim. And I experienced cancellation from all the sides. people saying I should have listened to the news and I should have canceled this sooner. And then other people saying I shouldn't listen to the news. I should just keep going. Other people. And also, obviously, everyone wanted their money back because it was a really tumultuous time. Everyone was out of work, so everybody needed cash. And, I was also scared. All of my girls were out of work. Our business was shut down. Everybody else's was too. I mean, there was like pandemonium in the grocery stores with toilet paper and canned goods and baby formula. And, there's just, it's just everything. And I was getting canceled and I was getting like, give us our money back. And I was like, wait a second. What if I was still thinking about maybe postponing, maybe a couple months from now? I mean, I didn't know. So I was like, wait a sec. So I had no answers. And so it was the pressure was, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm still here from that pressure from all the sides and from I had two kids at the time. So, and then I gave myself about 2 weeks to mourn the loss of this event baby because I had dreamt of this thing that I created and all of the moments and the music and the little surprises I was going to have and the speakers and what they would say. And I was envisioning the audience like crying their eyes out because they felt so moved by what the speaker said. And then it was just gone. And on top of it, I was in just this deep, deep, deep debt, I guess, because everybody wanted a refund. And then also, like, I had no idea what to do. And then I had already put all this money down at the hotel and the vendors and everything, and they didn't know what to do either. And the world was ending on top of it. So, yeah, it took about 2 weeks to mourn the loss of that. And then after that, I listened to Chris. I listened to Chris Harder, and he had these like lives or something like that where he was like trying to coach people out of their financial confusion. And I went to one, and then after that I said I got it. It's just, Chris was just transferring this confidence to me. And I told myself, I don't know if it was true, but I told myself, Sheila, looked in the mirror and I said, you are what this pandemic needs. You are what this industry needs during a crisis like this. Don't you dare stay silent. I was like, you're born for this. I told myself those things that I don't know. I had no answers. And then so I just took that thought and just inflated it like a lot. And so I created something called Resilience Week, where I had like I just I did it online and it was free and everything, and I didn't have the answers yet. And then I was like, oh, what does the beauty industry need if we're all just sitting at home and nobody's making money? Oh, I know. They need to learn how to make online courses because they have families too. So I created something, the online course workshop, and I charged a very low amount. I charged $78. And then I had like 300 attendees or something like that in this course that I didn't even create yet. I just promoted it. I didn't have time to create it. So I said, I'm holding an online course workshop. It's going to be 4 sessions. I'm going to deliver 1 live session every week starting May. So I promoted it, didn't even know what I was going to say yet. And then week 1, I would work on it, and then I deliver the thing. Week 2, week 3, week 4. And then I recouped a lot of money. And then what I did with that money is I invested it in a business coach, and I paid pretty much everything I made from that business coach. It was like 5 figures. And then and that was like May, by August or September of that year, I created a second multi-million dollar business that exceeded the revenue of my brick and mortar working from home. And that's the story.
It is incredible when that like block comes. Entrepreneurs have this like crazy drive in them where somehow, and I feel like moms do as well. You
Yeah.
somehow know like every day might be a little bit different in your business or as a mom, and you learn how to pivot and you just build from that. Every time you pass through something, everything just seems a little bit easier until you get through the next big thing. But I think that story is just incredible. And you built something without knowing how big it was actually going to get. And
Mhm.
from what you built, what are you doing now? You are still doing courses online, or what are you doing now?
So now, my whole life is Pretty Rich Bosses. Pretty Rich Bosses is the company that was built from, the pandemic. And now we have about 35, I have about 35 team members, both contractors and yeah, employees. And they all work remotely. They're all women. Well, that's not true. I've got a couple guys, but majority women. And we have a coaching program that's specifically for service-based entrepreneurs who want to scale their businesses. Because I had so much success from my first brick and mortar business that the next natural step was just to teach people how to do it. And let me tell you, I thought I knew a lot back then, just having built my business. But now that I've helped build several million-dollar businesses, I know so much now. Like, it's just even more so, and it just keeps getting better the more people that we work with. But we have thousands of students in who've passed through our program, and hundreds of students like always currently. And so it's been quite a journey. And so that's kind of what I do now still.
And it is tied to your personal brand. Like you are pretty much the face of the brand. So when people are working with coaches, are those coaches trained with you or do they go through your program and then you get to pick and choose, oh, I think this person would be a great coach on my team?
That's a really, really good question. So a lot of our coaches have been through our program. So all of my coaches have successful businesses themselves that are currently open, that they're currently running. So nobody is just a coach who is just a coach.
Mhm.
Every single coach I have has built a successful business in the multi six or seven figures.
Oh, that is so amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into business stuff, but I love
Okay.
fashion as much as I love business. And even with my own team, my team is not as big as yours, but I do have a team that I have trained and stylists that have gone through working with me. But being able to scale at that level where you have multiple, like a lot of coaches under you, oh, my dream, my dream.
Well, let's talk.
I know. It's got to be done. Um, and you on your social media, I love following what you share because you share things that are helpful, but they're also entertaining. Like you do such a great mix so that whoever is watching, they just are captivated by what you have to share. And I want to call you a social media queen. I know that you're not like, that's not like your big business or anything, but what two tips or strategies do you have that really help you when you're connecting with your clients and you're doing your reels or your post?
Mhm. Lean into fun. Don't take yourself too seriously or, and just yeah, find it. And it's going to be fun in a different way for everybody. Or, in your own unique way. So find the fun for you uniquely in creating content because that's the type of content that hits. That's also the type of content you'll be consistent with because you'll be rewarded by the dopamine from creating it. And then the second thing is think of yourself 10 years ago. What would me 10 years ago need to hear at this moment? Don't think about it as, speaking to the world wide web, because if you speak to everybody, you'll speak to nobody. And then that always allows that, first of all, that erases writer's block, but that also allows me to be authentic and to be specific because I think especially right now, like social media, where everybody's so sick, at least I am, and I'm seeing this trend too. Everybody is so sick and tired of seeing the same vanilla content of how to beat the algorithm. Like even the, IG gurus that I see, it's like, have an opinion. Just have an opinion, like stand for something. We don't need another influencer, right? We need leaders. I think so. And that's who our children need. And if you're going to be a leader, you need to stand for something. And if you're truly going to be authentic, like all of these people saying authenticity, 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 then you need to be prepared with offending people, because if you're truly authentic, truly anyone that's truly authentic, you will find some tension with some of your ideas. You just will. But then hopefully through, putting your ideas out there and your thoughts out there, you'll be sharpened. Your ideas will be sharpened. Don't think about it as, getting criticized, but just sharpening your ideas. I'm okay with being wrong. I if you listen to my podcast from even like 6 years ago, I'm a completely different person, and that's okay.
Yeah,
So,
we could change every day if we want. If we learn something new today and we decide to change again tomorrow, I mean, it's okay. And it's so interesting. I laugh when you said, because I'm asking you about social media, because a lot of people do struggle with social media. And the fact that you said to just have fun and enjoy it is so funny because I talk about that with style too. Sometimes we get so caught up
uh,
in like, I need a capsule wardrobe. Like when people come to me, I need a capsule wardrobe. I need to look like this, but it's like, do you really? Or is that safe for you? And so when you
ooh.
said that, it was very funny because it's like hearing the advice that I give other people back to me. So it's like, it's perfect. Yeah, social media, we get so caught up in how it's going to look so much that we forget to have fun in the process. So that's
Hmm.
a great reminder. I think a lot of people just need to know for life in general.
Absolutely. Ooh, is that safe for you? Is that
Yeah.
right? I
Is
like
that
that.
safe for you?
Hmm.
So now you've gone through another pivot, and I want to talk about that. So you just went through the pivot of changing the name of your podcast and the direction that you want to take with it. Can you share what came, like, what was in you that felt like, I feel like this is the right move to take now, and this is what I want to do differently?
Hmm. I don't know if it's the right move, but it's the authentic one. And
Yeah.
so because it's the authentic one, then that's the one I can keep up. That's the one that, I don't have to feel guilty about because it's the real thing. I don't know if it's good for business. That's not even the motivator. It's, so it's not even the motivator, not even a little bit, but so I've decided to change the name of my podcast to the CEO Glow Show. Pretty Rich Podcast has been around since 2018. I've been really consistent with it for the past 6 years. I mean, there was hardly a week that went by that I didn't have an episode, like hardly. And then
Hmm.
so I have a lot of loyal listeners, and it's known for, being inspiring and for being for beauty entrepreneurs and things like that. And then so it just got to a point like last year where I kind of felt bored with it. I don't want to say it wasn't serving me anymore because I don't like that. It's not that. I didn't feel like it was serving others.
Okay.
That doesn't serve me. I didn't feel like it was fueling anyone anymore, or very little, and that didn't fuel me because I think, a lot of self-help people say like, if it doesn't serve me, then let's cut the ties. I was like, but why isn't it serving you? Let's peel back the layers. Maybe you don't feel like it's serving other people, and that's really what we're called to do, right? And so it just didn't feel like it. And so I felt like I kind of lost my authenticity, with my podcast content last year. And I took a hiatus. I focused on just, being more in the business in the last few months. And then God spoke to me in the shower, as he always does. I don't know why that's like my prayer closet. I have a prayer shower. Always talking to me in there. And CEO Glow Show. I was like, okay. And then so without really a set plan or anything like that, I just one day told my team and didn't even really discuss it with them. I was like, oh, yeah. And by the way, this wasn't even like a video bubble. This wasn't a Zoom meeting. It was literally a text. Oh, yeah. And by the way, we're changing the name. And then I was like, don't freak out. Don't freak out. I'm not saying you should delete everything. Just don't worry about it. We're just changing the name. Don't worry. I need a new graphic. We're changing it and I need a new graphic. And they're like, okay. I was like, yeah, don't worry about like erasing everything that said Pretty Rich Podcast. Don't worry. We're just changing the name. Didn't even explain the concept or anything. But I was just kind of like going with it. And then as soon as I saw the graphic, I was like, this is it. And then, and then, um, and then I said, oh, can you add a little dove on the O? So, little something for the Holy Spirit or something like that. And so I was like, yes, this is it. And then so I just like recorded a few episodes. But here's the thing. So God's been so good to me. As you've seen in the story that I just told you, just like his faithfulness has just been so evident in my life, ups and downs and, hills and valleys and everything. And so it just I am just so grateful for the gifts of peace that God has given me in my life, that I just can't not share it. Like I was, there was a time in my life when I was in high school. I was in high school, and then I remember I saw the movie The Ring. The girl with the hair, and she comes out of the TV, and then she just like, I saw it, and, I don't know if you believe in, like, demonic critters or anything like that, but this is gonna sound crazy. I don't think I've ever confessed this to anyone yet. I'm pretty sure a demon followed me out of that theater because I don't know, it started living with me or something like that, and I can't I don't believe that stuff. It's like, it's hard, or rather it's hard for me to believe. It's
Yeah.
hard, okay? I'm just not that girl. And then after that, I saw death everywhere.
Mm.
I would open my eyes in the morning and I would look at the ceiling and I would see death. I would look at a tree and get terrified. I would see death. I'm like getting choked up just thinking about it. I was at my friend's house in Porter Ranch. I was at her townhouse, it was her mom's townhouse, and I was like a teenager. I would look at the furniture in that house and I could just feel death and see death and feel meaningless. So meaningless. I didn't know what life was about. I just felt like nothing mattered. And this feeling was constant. There was no relief. And I remember I would just the sun would set, and it was like wintertime, so the sun would set kind of early, would set at like 5 o'clock or something like that in LA. And I was so happy when the sun was up, but then as soon as it set, I would feel panic again. I would just see death everywhere. And then I had a fear of movie theaters. I didn't want to watch movies. And then it just got really crazy. And then I had no God to turn to. I had no faith that felt real. My parents always took me to church, but I grew up Catholic, but it just always felt dead to me. And I remember I would just try and distract myself with musical theater, and I was a performer, and so I would enter shows and I would audition, and then when I would book a show, I would be so engrossed in the show for a few weeks because I was working on something positive, and then my depression, anxiety was cured, right? But as soon as the show ended, it would come back. It would come back. And I lived that way for years. I I saw death everywhere I went, every time I opened my eyes. And my dad told me to read The Power of Positive Thinking
Mhm.
by Norman Vincent Paley. And I read it, but it didn't help. I was like, So what? So what? We're all gonna die anyway. Even just, I don't know, 100 years from now, nobody's gonna know your name. We're all gonna be 6 feet in the ground. Like, everyone we know is gonna die and stop to exist. Like, what is the point? What is the point? And beyond that thought, I just saw death with any image. It was just any like inanimate object or image. And I just couldn't shake it. And then one day I met a boy, and so he said, I remember he did something strange. We were at Denny's, and then he prayed before his meal. And I was like, that's weird. No one does that. What's going on with you? And he said, well, I'm a Christian. And I was like, well, what's that? That's kind of weird. I was like, I think I am too. I'm pretty sure I am. I mean, I wore a scapular, back in junior high. Like, and so He told me about his faith, and then he gave me a book list to read some books on Christianity. And so I gave it a shot. I read every book on that list from I think there were 10 books on there. And I was like, wow, this makes sense. I read books on apologetics that married science and the Bible and made it make sense. I read books that wrestled with doubt, right? And also books on, a Christian marriage and relationships, and it gave me a new dream. I'd read books on explaining like the Bible, and then I read the Bible. And then I started listening to Christian music. I started listening to Jackie Velasquez, Flashback, for anyone who knows who that is. And then I remember like I was outside, I was in my car, and then I went to a church that I wasn't a part of, and I sat outside the church by myself, and I was reading the Bible, listening to worship songs, and God met me in that moment. And then I gave my life to Jesus Christ, and I didn't even belong to a church or anything. And then I've never um felt like I had an attack from the adversary ever again. I still can't believe that was me. I would open my eyes and like I said, there was like death everywhere. That's now there was life everywhere. Now I was excited. Now I was in love. Now I knew what the meaning of my life was. Now I had assurance. Now I had hope. And I'll never let go of that.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. For anyone even listening that is in a place where I feel like it's very common, whether it's something going on that's really hard, we use distractions. And
Mm,
I find myself in that place sometimes
yeah.
when there's something that is hard to come to terms with.
Mm.
Distracting myself with work is the easiest way.
Because you
And
feel good at it.
you feel good at it. You feel like you can just like disconnect from that part of you for that moment to be present with the person in front of you. But those moments too, sometimes God just needs to tell you something and you just don't. I know for myself, like I've been stubborn in life. Sometimes God puts something in front of me and I'm like, nope, let me figure it out. No, God will continually come to you when he has something that he needs to tell you. So
Mm.
thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever shared that before.
And so now with your podcast, like, and it maybe this is true, maybe it isn't. Do you feel like now, since you've shifted, even though it's only been a week or so, that you're coming up naturally with all these new topics and things that you just want to share with your community that you think will be helpful? Do you feel like you've had this new like rejuvenation of like ideas and creativity?
Mm. Yeah, it's really interesting because it was really hard to not talk about Jesus. It was hard. I found it harder and harder and harder. And the more time I spent with God, the harder it got. So another thing is back in about a year and a half ago, 2022.
Hmm.
Yep. 2022. My husband was baptized. He was baptized for his 40th birthday. And I thought that we were living I thought I was in a Christian household. That's what I thought that I was like, "Oh my gosh, we were so, I thought that we got it. We got it all together." Man, oh man, the order in our home has really like I mean, it's shifted. It's almost like there was a little bit of a lack of order in the house. But as soon as my husband got baptized, slowly, like the order in our home and in our dynamic just shifted where God was at the center of everything. And now Will and he gave me permission to grow in my faith because I kind of like stopped because I married a kind of a non-believer, kind of. He was always open to church, but he wasn't open to growing. And then so I kind of like, okay, I'll stop growing too. That's kinda what happened. Okay, I'll stop challenging myself too. And I didn't realize that until he actually, got dunked himself in that water upon his own, by the way. I didn't push it at
Yeah.
all because I
And
because I thought we were fine.
yeah.
Because I thought we were fine. But when he dunked himself in the water, and all of a sudden our home started shifting order, our relationship started shifting also, where I'm like, oh, God's in the center of you and I. Oh, and it's just we can get into submission and everything because I think that's a really interesting topic, but it's relaxing. Let me tell you. Okay. I'm a strong, independent woman, but if he so I believe that the Bible calls wives to submit to their husbands, right? You know, especially if your husband's a believer. So but listen, when he got baptized, I was like, oh snap, now I really gotta submit. Okay. But I also think that there is a difference between obedience and submission.
Mm-hmm.
If if you are a woman that doesn't have your own bank account,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I mean, or if you're not in, if you don't have your own things, if you don't have power, right? Then when your husband asks you to submit, that's just obedience,
Yeah. Agreed.
right? That's just obedience because you kind of need him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different when I say, okay, it's different because it's you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, so it's like, but also husbands are called to honor their wives. So
Yeah.
it's not just one thing, right? Honor their wives and to love their wives like their own bodies. So it's not just like it's a two-way street here. We're called to sacrifice, ourselves for each other, for the Lord. So but yeah, I love that.
Yeah, interestingly enough, you talk about that. We were talking off the podcast about our faith. And now that you mention that, I actually, because you're like, have you been going to church consistently? And now I remember why I mean, yes, we do have kids, but my kids don't mind going to church with me. But my husband is not religious. So before being with him, I would go all the time and take my daughter or go by myself. But now that we live together and we've been married however many months, almost a year, I have
Mhm.
stopped. It's not that he makes me stop, but of course, it's like on Sundays he wants to do something different. And it's so
Yeah.
easy for me to just go along with that when I know for myself what's important. And interestingly enough, in my journal, I have been journaling about trying to get back more consistent in my faith because that is so important. And
Mhm.
just you gave me chills when you're like the submission part's like, yeah, that's real. That is real. With
Yeah.
a man
Yeah.
in faith, when you can do
Yeah.
that in a relationship, yeah. Especially as a
And
powerful
the Bible also says that that's how you win your husband over for the Lord is by being a gentle wife and through your obedience, that's how we win our husbands for the Lord. But that is a real thing though that a lot of like my girlfriends also deal with, and I didn't realize that I was dealing with it too, that we stop growing when our partners stop. When we kind and I didn't realize I was dumbing myself down spiritually so he could catch up. But I didn't even realize I was doing it.
because we don't when we're in our space when we're doing our thing. I mean, yeah.
And
Oh,
then I was like, so many years I've lost of walking with the Lord, like this nice, this well. And so that's also what's happened, you know? So that's why I'm in this place because now we're growing together some more. And I think the reason why I wasn't like nagging him about her, I wasn't super worried is because I did see his growth, but
mhm.
it was just slower. But he's always been open, but he always had questions. That's another podcast. His name is Will Roosh on Instagram. He found the Lord through reading atheist books.
Oh, oh, God.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, well, what's the other side?" And he just dove into Dawkins and yeah, just all the atheist books. And because you I mean that I think that strengthens your faith.
Oh,
I
yeah,
do. Yeah,
yeah.
because if you're like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, go find out because the Bible says if you seek, you will find. And most people, what they do is they have a thought, well, the Bible has this contradiction or blah blah blah, and then they stop there. They don't go further. They don't like check to see like, hey, what's on the other side of that? What is the answer? But my husband's such a seeker. He's just so curious that he just kept seeking, and he found Jesus. And he believes now that like seekers will find him. If you truly seek, we believe that that's the conclusion you will come to if you truly seek. But if you don't seek, then you're just gonna just watch cars passing by and nothing. You know what I mean? It's like nothing's gonna happen.
Yes. And talking about evolving as we're wrapping up the podcast, how do you feel like your personal style has evolved over time? How
Mm.
with you and your company and in your phase of life?
Evolved over time.
Oh, yeah.
I love my style.
I do too. I do too. I admire it.
I love my style. And so but yeah, it's just so fun being a girl. Again, like I just lean into fun more and more. And I don't know, I'm sure you love fashion. I love fashion. It's such a motivator for me. I get excited to dress up. I always tell my husband like the best part of the evening is getting ready. And then it's all downhill from there. But I love a good getting ready session, playing, girly tunes or worship music and just like really getting ready. I love it. So, but how my style has evolved, I don't know if it's evolved much. That's the thing. I
Really?
like what I like. I like what I like. And I just like what I like. I have a lot. I don't think I have one style either. So,
Which you
but
don't need. It depends on how you're feeling, how you want to show up. That's the fun thing with style. You can change what you're doing, how you want to show up in different areas of your life. Like for my style, I mean, for mom mode, it's like throwing on and having things that are really cute but still comfortable. And then when I do boss babe, I'm like boss babe.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
being
you
boss
are.
babe. Yeah, so it's so
Yeah. It's like stepping into like a character that's still you, but
much.
it's like a character. I love your style too, girl. So,
Thank you so much. Where can my audience find you? I want everybody listening, if you were moved by this conversation, if you really connected with Sheila, please find her and please share with us where we can find you.
well, my second home is Instagram at Real Sheila Bella. And so you can also check out my podcast, CEO Glow Show, and we also have an Instagram, but you can listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. And also there's a video version on YouTube.
And all of this will be in the show notes for you as well to easily connect. And my last question for you, because I feel like I really connect with everything you say about business, even though I'm not in the permanent makeup industry. Do you feel like, and I haven't taken your AI class or anything, do you feel like some of the things from your courses can that be shared with people that are not in the industry that you're in?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So big shifts for us, for Pretty Rich Bosses this year. We're broadening because, we have a lot of clients that are not just in the beauty industry. We have birth coaches, we have chocolatiers, we have music teachers, just anybody that's service based. Anyone that's service based, this formula works because it's the same thing. So, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I need to go to one of your events. The last event that you had, I was like, I see myself there, but I'm not in makeup.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really exciting stuff. We're launching a CRM this year. I'm announcing it here, called Bellavate, where basically it's like take all of your software, like your Acuity, MindBody, Asana, your website, Kajabi, just just cancel all of those subscriptions because you can have everything in one place. Email marketing, text marketing. It could save the average business like $1,000 just switching to this platform. And so that's the new thing that we're launching probably by the time this episode releases. So I'm really excited about that. Go to bellavate.com.
I will be there. You will find me. I am going to be cheering you on. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Thank you, Tannya. Really appreciate you.
Everybody, continue building a life and a style that truly reflect you.